Hello friends, please accept my greetings of peace and joy. Welcome to this session. In the last video, you have witnessed a class on the different values of teaching science in the school curriculum, and because of that, science till today finds very important place in the school curriculum. And today we'll be discussing on the same subunit of unit 1, and this is the nature of science. And in this particular lesson I have taken the nature of physics as a science discipline and its linkages with other disciplines. So this is equally important for other branches of science like nature of chemistry, nature of biology as a science discipline and its linkages with other disciplines. So welcome to this class. To begin, usually we feel science is a word for modern age. This word is an inseparable part of modern life. What is science? What is so special about it? Why do we teach science to our school children? And what do we teach them in the name of science? These are the basic questions to which a science teacher must know the answers for. To some extent, we have understood him from the last class also. I hope so. And you have decided to become a science teacher, so you should know all about science. And this particular lesson or the module will help you to understand the nature of science, both distinguishing nature and non-distinguishing features of nature of science, and also correlation of science with the subject and also with other subjects and with life and environment. And this module also provides for the recording of your own observations and also experiences as you move along with this lesson. Actually, this nature of science we have already covered up in the semester 2. However, some of you will find it very important even in this third semester. So the objective of this lesson or this module is drawn over here. After going through this unit, you will be able to describe the nature of science in your own words and identify the correlation of science, especially the physics, with other disciplines, and also describe the nature of physics as science, and you will be able to explain the correlation and importance of physics with other disciplines and society. In this particular class, we will be covering the first two objectives, that is to describe the nature of science in your own words and also identify the correlation of science with other disciplines. Let us consider this particular lesson is to cover up the first two objectives. And the second two objectives will be covered up in the part B of this lesson. So this is the part A part. So first, what is science? We know from our second semester And today, especially in this particular lesson, we would like to talk about these features of the nature of science. So, to understand the nature of science, what are the very important features which describes the nature of science? So here in this figure or in this particular diagram, you can see there are many scientists. They try to find out the nature of science, especially its features, in two terms. Like some features are very distinguishing feature, very particular, and there are certain features we can consider as non-distinguishing features of science. So under these two headings, the particular theme has been presented. And here, number one, we can see the distinguishing feature. The scientific knowledge demands empirical evidence. The knowledge acquired as a result of the continuous observation and the experimentation, that particular knowledge will be considered as a scientific knowledge. And like in science in the lots of factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge are available in the science book, and those knowledge has come from the continuous observation. You can check the spelling here, observation, and also by doing experimentation. And second features of nature of science is scientific claims are testable or falsifiable. Here I would like to cite that Karl Popper in the 1968, he suggested that only ideas that are potentially falsifiable are scientific ideas. Hence, a term like creation science is an oxymoron, because the notion that fully formed species are placed on earth by some supernatural force is a religious belief and not part of the scientific paradigm, because it cannot be tested or falsifiable. This is Karl Popper's view. Like scientific events, scientific phenomena, it has to be tested as the number one feature talks about it. And this certain claims, as a scientific attitude, all the claims are to be verified, and all the claims may not come out true. That claims may be the hypothesis, and this hypothesis are to be testable. It is to be tested, and whatever hypothesis is formulated or propounded, we cannot say that all those hypotheses are will be true. Only some of the hypotheses, out of many hypotheses, one or two or some hypotheses will come out as a truth as a result of the continuous observation and as a result of the experimentations. And this thought features, distinguishing feature of nature of science is this one: the scientific test or observation are repeatable. And this is not a new point for you all, because a long time back, what experimentation were done by great scientists, and some of the experimentation till today we are doing in the laboratory. For example, Newton's law of motions, then this Boyle's law, Charles' law. Similarly, in biology, this Mendel's law of heredity. These are still we can repeat it, or it's being repeated. And fourth feature is scientific knowledge is tentative and developmental and hence fallible. Fallible means capable of making mistakes. We cannot say that scientific knowledge is the final one. Here, time to time, the new hypotheses and new theories, new principles are developed, and the previous knowledge will be replaced by the new knowledge also. So here in this statement, we can find it is very true. In an overall sense, it does not hide much detail and is subsequently potentially misleading also. There are different degrees of tentativeness associated with different types of scientific knowledge. We are, for example, rather certain about Boyle's law. We are very certain, yes, Boyle's law is Boyle's law, and we have verified several times. And we are also very certain about the fact that copper is a good conductor of electricity, and we have experienced it. And similarly, that the earth is round rather than the flat. This also we are certain. But far or less, we are not so certain about the origins of modern man. Modern man, some of the scientists, they say we are the descendants of the ape, or our ancestors were the monkeys. We are not so certain about it. Especially, I do not agree with that thing. Because in a general phenomenon also, if we plant a mango seed, from there mango tree will come out. If we plant banana seeds, banana tree will come out. If you plant orange tree seeds, orange tree will come out. I have never seen orange giving out the mango, or mango tree giving the plantain or banana. So my own opinion about that our ancestors were the apes or the monkeys, I find it is misleading, a fallible type of theory. Similarly, there are other cases also that the mass destructions of the dinosaurs is caused by the one asteroids which happened to accidentally fall on the earth, and because of that dinosaurs were killed. This is also kind of a tentative knowledge, and it can be replaced by the some more research work, and the right thing may appear. And some of them are still in between, that there is life on Mars, and some of them are saying no, there is no life on Mars. So these are some of the practical example in our own day-to-day life also, to understand the distinguishing feature of science. Fourth one, that scientific knowledge is tentative and developmental, and it's true, and it is fallible. And the fifth feature, distinguishing feature, is science is self-correcting. It's interconnected with the number 4 point. that since scientific knowledge is tentative, developmental, uh, along with the time and along with the more research work, it's time to time the knowledge will be changed. So as the knowledge or the factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge keeps on changing, so science is self-correcting that way. So these are the 5 important features which we consider as a distinguishing feature pertaining to the nature of science. Now, here in this figure, another features are also there about the nature of science which we can consider as non-distinguishing feature. In non-distinguishing, serially the number comes here, number 6 point is scientific progress is characterized by the invention of and competition among hypotheses or theories. It is that scientific progress is characterized by the invention of different theories or hypotheses. And scientific progress also takes place because of the competition among the different theories. Which theory will lead, and that will be accepted as a scientific knowledge. So this, with some example, we can understand this point number 6. Further, one of the scientists, Wegener, suggested that the continents, had once been one. There was one single piece of land in this world, and it was drifted apart. And this particular theory, it was regarded at that time almost a lunatic. That scientist who propounded this theory, this whole world mass was a single one, and in due course of the time it was drifted apart, which is also known as the continental drift. And this theory he propounded, Wegener, but that time when he propounded that theory, all the people considered him as a lunatic one. Similarly, groups led by Rutherford and Thomson obtained very similar results for the scattering of alpha particles by materials, and yet they bitterly disputed the 2 different models. One model was nuclear and another one is plum pudding model. And that they proposed for the structure of the atom to such extent, especially Rutherford accused a colleague of Thomson with having forged data to support Thomson's model. That means one of the colleague of Thomson, he was dealing with the weak or inadequate way of information to conceal the real truth regarding this structure of the model, and this he did to support the Thomson's model also. And see, there is a competition between the 2 scientists, and whose theory will be accepted more. So at that time certain manipulations also, I think they have tried. So this shows that scientific progress is characterized by the competition among the theories also. And next non-distinguishing feature of nature of science is different scientists can sense the same things and interpret the same experimental data differently. And in this case we can take the example that there have been countless cases of scientists having either not seen certain things or based on their expectations, deeming what they did see to be unimportant and leading to the conclusion that observations are theory laden. One of the scientists, like Halton's examination of Millikan's handwritten notebooks, revealed that in preparing the crucial paper, Millikan had discarded the results for 59% of oil drops because they did not support his hypothesis. So he dropped 59% of oil of the particular elementary charge. And another scientist, Aaron Haft, on the other hand, obtained and did the similar experimentation and obtained the similar result. And he postulated fractional electronic charges. So same experiment, same result, but they late that particular experimentation result into two different findings. So this type of possibility is also there, that while doing the research, it is not necessary that what I get the result and in what way I want to interpret should be similar with the another scientist who finds the same result by doing that experimentation, and he or she wanted the way I have interpreted. They cannot do. They can do, or they might have their own interpretation. They need not follow, or their interpretation should not match with the other scientist's interpretation. So this also very important to understand as the nature of science. And another non-distinguishing feature of the nature of science is science cannot provide complete answers to all questions or the problems. In the previous class, we have learned that science can give the answers of some of the fundamental questions, but not all questions. And this statement is very true. But at the same time, science does answer many questions very well indeed. Yet science cannot, though, answer moral, ethical, aesthetic, social, metaphysical questions. Although it may provide some useful insights. So there are certain areas where science cannot give the answer, but they can throw some light in it. And such area regarding the moral ground, ethical ground, aesthetic, social and metaphysical area, science is not able to give the answer. For example, here, like understanding how to clone a cat does not indicate whether cloning is an acceptable endeavor by humans. Understanding what makes eyes blue or green does not indicate what is more beautiful. So science talks about why somebody's eye is green or blue, but it will not tell us that having a green eye or the blue eye are the most beautiful. It's not like that. So this is what that complete answers we may not get from science. And another feature of the nature of science, which can be considered as a non-distinguishing, is science is a social activity, or it is also known as science as a social entrepreneur, and it influences the society, or science is a money in vice versa. Science is a social activity, both influencing society and being influenced by people's values and opinions. So people's values and opinions also influences science. That means society influences science and science influences the society because of its different inventions. Then lastly, its non-distinguishing feature of science is logic, imagination, curiosity and serendipity contribute to scientific exploration. So logic means here cause and effect. A certain cause is there, and what is the effect of that one? The study of that cause and effect leads to the scientific exploration. And imaginations, we remember our Wright brothers. During their childhood only, they used to look at the sky and they used to see the flying birds, and they used to imagine, we wish also we could fly just like that of birds. And that imagination led them to do the scientific exploration, and now we have the aeroplane. It's because of their imaginations. And science exploration also takes place because of that curiosity. That Isaac Newton's, when he was sitting under the tree, suddenly apple falls down, and then curiosity arises in mind that why the apple is falling down only. So he propounded that theory of gravitations. And this serendipity means all of a sudden you'll find something, you know, in a happy mood. Like we can say it's occurrence or development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. Here we can remember our Archimedes. In a bathing top only, he found certain answers of some scientific phenomenon. And eureka, eureka, he said that particular word. I found it, I got it. So that way also scientific exploration is possible. So that's why this logic, imagination, curiosity and serendipity contribute to scientific exploration. So these are all about the salient features of nature of science. Some are very distinguishing and some are non-distinguishing. But all these are applicable to understand the nature of science. So now we move to the another areas of science and its correlations with the other within the science subjects and with the other disciplines, and also with the life and the environment. So usually we can say the development of the mind can be achieved when the person has got the ability to solve the problems. So problem solving is very, very important skills which will be enhanced while learning the science. And this, when we start to solve the problem, the mind also starts to develop. Mind and intellect both gets stronger. And also to solve that practical difficulty, combined knowledge of physics and other branches of knowledge is also very, very necessary. Like one single science discipline cannot solve all the problems. So a science has to depend on another science. Science can borrow the knowledge of another branch of science. and this combined effort can solve a lots of problem in our day-to-day life. So that's why these two factors leads the phenomenon of correlation, that science have a strong correlation with other disciplines. And correlation means it's the relationship between different subjects of the curriculum, and that correlation can be direct, or sometimes it's just opposite, reciprocal also. And because of these two reasons, that to develop the ability of problem solving, and also to solve the different problems related to our day-to-day life by utilizing the knowledge, the interrelationship of science must be taught in school in relation to the other subjects. And the child also must know the importance between the different branches of knowledge. That's why this correlation we must understand. And this correlation also, I already mentioned that it can be done in three ways, like correlation within the subject itself also, because within that particular subject lots of factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge are there, and those knowledge has interconnection. These are correlated. Similarly, correlation with the other subjects, and also correlation with life and environment. And here in this particular diagram you can see correlation of science with the subject. All the branches of science are interdependent upon each other, and a number of facts and principles which are common to various science subjects. This with the example we can understand. And some examples we'll be giving after some time. And another factor is, as a result of new physics, lots of invention and correlations with the other subjects, especially within the science only, like physics has a strong correlation with the knowledge of chemistry, and biology also has to take the help of physics and chemistry, even study of the geology also, knowledge of physics, and these are very, very important. And that's why the new twilight branches like physical chemistry, biophysics, biochemistry, geophysics, these are the example of the correlation of the science within the subject only. Physics is also science, chemistry also science, and physics and chemistry merge together to solve certain problems, and it becomes a physical chemistry. Knowledge of biology and knowledge of physics combined together becomes the biophysics. Biochemistry and geophysics, these are the other examples of correlation. For example, here the subject like atom, a topic like atom, heat of a chemical reaction, electrolysis, these are of equal importance in learning physics also, and in learning chemistry also. So it's a common subjects, common chapters, both are relevant to physics and chemistry. And similarly, the chemistry also finds its application in various subjects like physics. For example, theory of electrochemical reaction. The knowledge of chemistry can be applied in biology, especially in chemical manuring, preparation of chemical fertilizers, study of air, water. In biology also, air, water, these are important subtopics, and in that the knowledge of chemistry is directly involved. Another chapter like hygiene and physiology, there also knowledge of chemistry is very, very essential. in terms of these air, water, chemistry of food. In chemistry of food, we do the a qualitative analysis of like fats, proteins, carbohydrates, and reducing sugars, etc. So we identify these food materials scientifically by using the knowledge of chemistry. Similarly, chemistry of blood and purification of water, there the biological factor, biological knowledge as well as knowledge from the chemistry are equally essential. So the correlation is very important here. Like without chemistry, we cannot understand the chemistry of blood. We cannot understand the total process of the purification of water also. So this way, another aspects of correlation is correlation of science with other subjects, and this type of correlation can be of two types. One is incidental correlation, and another one is systematic correlation. Incidental correlation, it is a natural correlation. It means a broad treatment of the subject that brings about the points of similarities between science and other related subjects. And success of incidental correlation depends on wide knowledge and versatility of the science teacher. The science teacher has to be versatile. That means suppose if she is teaching chemistry, so that time she can relate how that particular concept of that particular chapter is related with the life or related with the environment. Or for example, in physics we usually teach about the cell. Of course, in biology also we teach cell, but in physics, the cell, it's related. It's another term for the battery. So physics gives the knowledge about that how the cell can function, and what are the different components, structural components of that cell, etc. And in that context, while teaching that shell, the teacher can immediately correlate with that of the environmental factor also, like how to dispose that particular cell after the use, because if that cell is disposed in the open area, that cell contains certain heavy metals, for example cadmium, that can pollute the soil, and that soil pollution occurs. So while teaching physics and the topic cell, we can directly relate it with the environment or relate it with the biology knowledge also, that cadmium, it is a chemistry part, cadmium is a heavy metal and that can cause the pollution of the soil. Or if it goes to the water sources also, it can pollute the water. So that way this correlation can be done, and this is not purposely done. It is not predestined in the syllabus, but accidentally a teacher can, or incidentally a teacher can correlate. Another way of correlation of science with other subject is systematic correlation, and it is achieved by a careful organization and of the curriculum and in different subjects. It can be effective only when the teachers of different subjects cooperate and coordinate their work. So here, one teacher will be teaching biology, one teacher will be teaching chemistry, one teacher will be teaching physics. So every teacher uh, they can correlate their subjects with other subjects if that curriculum is planned, organized in a way of systematic correlation. So it depends that how the curriculum is framed. And anyway, in another slide we can understand this further. And example of this incidental correlation here, it will be very clear for you. Three examples are cited in this particular diagram. A chemistry teacher, while teaching about oxygen, teacher says about hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a carrier of oxygen. And the people who climbs on mountains, they carry the oxygen cylinder. So what may be the reason here? So oxygen is a chapter to be taught in chemistry. But chemistry teacher can correlate that oxygens with the property of having a characteristic feature of hemoglobin carrying. And oxygen is carried by a particular protein which is present in the human blood, that is hemoglobin. And the people who climb mountain, they carry the separate oxygen cylinder. What may be the reason? There again, knowledge of physics. So it can be correlated. Chemistry is related to biology and physics. Similarly, second example, a chemistry teacher, while teaching about the structure of atom, correlates with history by telling about Kanad Muni and the progress in ancient India. A teacher who is teaching the structure of atom, structure of atom in the immediate science book which we have referred. There we can find the structure of atom and the Dalton's atomic theory, like that it comes. But India is also rich in terms of this scientific invention. One of the sage, or one of the saint, let us say Muni, Rishi Muni, whose name is Kanad. So Kanad, long time back, like 2600 BC, that time only he had propounded the atomic theory. So that way chemistry teacher can relate this his chemistry topic even with the history. And similarly, another correlation example of incidental, a biology teacher while teaching about eye, human eye, correlates with a camera and the formation of image in a convex lens. In some syllabus we find, like in NCERT syllabus also, we find this particular correlation. I think it is there in physics chapter while discussing about the different type of lanes. That time there is an inclusion of that spectacles and the defects of vision of the human eye, far-sightedness and short-sightedness, and in that cases the structure of eye is also discussed. So that way knowledge of biology is correlated with the knowledge of physics. So these are the example of incidental correlation. So to give this type of incidental correlation knowledge, the teacher has to be very wise and very spontaneous. Okay, now let us see some of the example to make this correlation part very clear. The example of systematic correlation, some of the chapters which are there in physics chapter, for example, light, heat, sound, electricity, mechanics. Some only has been taken. So in the light chapter, the light chapter can be taught in this way if the curriculum has this type of arrangement, or curriculum is formulated in that way. For example, light and health. How health is biology part, light is physics part. So how these two are interrelated. Light and germs. How these are interrelated. Light, physics, germs again biology part. Light and vitamins. For example, sunlight. So sunlight, study about the sunlight is a part of physics, and that sunlight is responsible for making the vitamin D in human body. So vitamin part is biology. So this is intentionally incorporated in the syllabus. So this is called systematic correlation. Similarly, other example we can take artificial sunlight, eye as camera, use of spectacles I already mentioned, natural and artificial lighting, physics and physiology of room. Physics, a room, how can you say a room is a very conducive for the patients, for the sick people. So there the physiology of room, it is related with the physiology, what is the part of the biology, and what type of physical arrangements has to be there to make it very conducive for the ill people, or even for the healthy people, what type of room should we have. So these are interrelated, systematic correlation. Another chapter is heat. In this heat chapter, heat, temperature of body, or heat as energy, not heating, sorry, heating of the rooms, humidity, ventilation, sweat evaporation, treatment of heat burns. These are interrelated knowledge about the physics as well as that of biology. And similarly, another chapter, sound. In sound, the main organ associated with the sound part is the human ear. And how does the ear function? And what are the effects of noise on human health? It may be the psychological health also. So while teaching about the chapter sound, these aspects also can be dealt. And in electricity, syllabus incorporates the use of electricity in homes, heating and lighting for health, electricity as a curative agent, medical science, electricity and X-ray, and electric shock and its treatment. What is electric shock? That is taught in physics, and how it can be treated if somebody meets with this type of accident of electric shock, how the first aid or how the treatment can given. So this is the knowledge of biology. Similarly, in mechanics, example like bones and muscles, and they are from mechanical system. How our bone joints, how the muscles functions, it has direct relationship with the knowledge of mechanics. And work and energy of human body. See, human body biology part, and how does it work? The work, energy are the some of the chapters included under the heading mechanics. So these are the example of systematic correlation. I hope this part is clear to you, both incidental correlation and systematic correlation. Let us further move ahead. This is the difference between incidental and systematic correlation. And we have already understood what is incidental correlation and systematic correlation. Anyway, this here point wise the difference has been shown. Incidental correlation, here this correlates the subject matter and makes use of it casually while teaching a unit. It depends upon the teacher. Whereas systematic correlation is a very well planned and organized effort of a group of teachers in curriculum development while making the curriculum itself only. Actually, the curriculum framer, the teachers also be the part of the curriculum framer. So that time if we planned and organized, this systematic correlation can be easily practiced. And here incidental correlation may go unnoticed by some students who are inattentive. It is not written in the book, so the students who are inattentive in the class, they may not notice this particular correlation of one subject, science subject, to another science subject. But in systematic correlation, it is noticed by the teacher because it is there in the curriculum. So the students cannot be deprived of this type of correlation. And incidental correlation is not made with this stress. The students may feel confused as to why the teacher is talking of a topic in the history, in physics or chemistry class. There is a chances if sometimes why teacher is talking about the history, we are learning physics and chemistry, so that type of confusion might arise, or it can cause a little bit of stress among the learners also. But it depends upon the teacher. If teacher presents is very beautifully, such type of situation does not arise. And this systematic correlation is made very, very clear to the students. And similarly, another one is transfer of learning is achieved. Achieved is not satisfactory. So how much the learners they have learned by practicing that incidental correlation, that may not be satisfactory. Whereas in the systematic correlation, the transfer of learning will be maximum. The learners will learn more. And incidental correlation, it does not prevent repetition, and the students tend to feel bored. So like now and again the similar type of repetition might occur during the class, so that may cause the students not attentive, plus they feel bored also. But in the curriculum, if the correlation is done very systematically, usually the curriculum is the polished one, so there will be no repetition, chances of repetition. And this incidental curriculum correlation, it can be utilized in the usual classroom. And it may take more time to explain that particular aspects to the children also. But since it is done in the systematic correlation in the curriculum, if it is being done, then it prevents the wastage of energy and also wastage of time in the classroom. Then here the work of teacher remains individualized in terms of the incidental correlation. Your individual teacher has to take initiative to show that correlation. And in the systematic correlation, a cooperation between the teachers is developed. So there will be less chances of repetition also, because the cooperation among the teachers are taking place. Now, last factor about the correlation of science with life and environment. So here some of the example taken from the physics, like much of the physics is the study of energy and its transformation, and energy lies at the heart of important environmental issues. So just like a correlation of application of knowledge of physics in solving the environmental problems, that has given rise to one important area of specialization in the field of physics, that is called environmental physics or applied physics. Physical science knowledge is applied to solve the environmental problems. So that way we can say the physics is a pure science, and it is directly related with the environment. And since it is related with the environment, it is directly related with the human life also, and also other living organisms. So some of the contributions of physics in solving the environmental issue and also for the welfare of the human beings can be studied in the this type of area of specializations. And like some of the equipment, some of the devices, or some of the measures which has been very useful for the human life and also for conserving the environment are as such, like remote sensing equipment on different measures of energy conservation. I think you must be knowing about the alternative sources of energies these days, as the conventional energy sources are depleting and due to continuous use. Now the physicists, they are working on the alternative sources of energy like solar energy, tidal energy, wind energy, hydro energy, geothermal energy, etc. Similarly, for the study of the atmosphere, this environmental physics has created atmospheric models also. And physics is correlated with the environmental issues in terms of the radioactive materials, which are not healthy for the human beings if they are kept in a careless manner. So how the storing of the radioactive material and how the management of these radioactive materials can be done so that it will not hamper the human life and also that of the environment. So for that the physics is doing lots of work. And similarly, physics has given us the lasers, telescopes and other advanced equipments to study the physical phenomenon which is taking place in the environment, or let us say in the universe. So these are the different correlations of the science within the subsets, with other subsets, and with life and environment. So in this particular class, we'll discuss only this much, and the rest of the part, the first two objectives we have covered. We wanted to know about the nature of the science and its correlation with different subsects. And in the next lesson, part B, we will be covering the last two objectives of this particular module only, that is nature of physics and its relationship with the other disciplines. So this is there in the pedagogy of physics, and this lesson is not only for the teacher students who have opted pedagogy of physics. This is equally important for pedagogy of chemistry and pedagogy of physics. Pedagogy of biology, biological sciences. So not to be inattentive to listen this class. I hope these presentations were clear to you, and see you in the next class. Thank you.